seeing the biggest cut. That is down around 200 points.
Jio has lost 1.9 crore subscribers in the month of September. Airtel has added 2.7 lakh and Vodafone has lost 10 lakh subscribers.
As the promoter entity has announced acquiring another 4.5% stake from the open market.
We're down straight away 130 odd points.
We saw a lot of money flowing out of China, and I think some of that came to benefit India.
I think we still have a long way to go before we should start getting seriously worried.
Market's off the lows, isn't it? By quite a bit, that too. About 150 odd points on the Nifty.
Amazon, we understand, has now moved the Supreme Court against that Delhi High Court order.
MobiKwik, which had initially planned to launch its initial public offering by November, in fact before Diwali, and then of course later it was expected by the end of November, has now deferred its plans by a few months.
We believe that currently we are very well set up, right, in terms of capitalizing on the inflection point that the market provides.
Vodafone Idea has hiked prepaid tariffs by 20 to 25%.
Now mall developers and landlords have stopped giving all the rental waivers and negotiations that they had offered during the first two lockdowns.
At the high point of trade, 17,500 is here on the Nifty.
You're entering the future-ready CNBC TV18 EBIX Cash Studio.
Well, that was the day so far. Hello and welcome to Closing Bell from the CNBC TV18 EBIX Cash Studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleague Nigel D'Souza, here over the next 60 minutes. Nigel, hi. Good afternoon. I mean, day one of the bounce, Nigel, isn't it? After 6 days of non-stop selling, we got a 100-odd point gain. So it does, feel good. The market, and we were pointing this out from almost yesterday afternoon all the way to this morning, that the market in the very near term on hourly indicators, on daily indicators, had reached extremely oversold conditions, and a bounce was due. In the morning, I mean, the way we started, it looked like it would keep going one way, but then the bounce appeared, and it's lasted so far. The closing is important, and I think you'd want to see a positive close because, I mean, that will give confidence to those who've kind of tried to pick stocks at lower levels that, well, this is here to stay, and that they should not throw in the towel just yet. Larger sort of sectors are still not fully participating. I mean, take a look at, for example, the banks and financial services, and we'll talk more about that later. It's more the metals, the cyclicals, etc., which are doing well. But, I mean, you know, it's all adding up to this 0.5, 0.6% gain that we have on our hands. The global picture, thankfully, did not deteriorate even as the market here sold off. For a couple of days at least, India was the worst performing market. And hopefully, even though rates are in the US, for example, treasury yields are significantly higher, it's not impacted equities in any meaningful way. Nasdaq was down 1%. But, I mean, is there any big impact here in Asia or Europe? Not really. One level, I think, which is still some distance away, which is about 400-500 points away, but I think that is important if this bounce has to sustain, is about 18,050. Essentially what happened is that the rising channel was broken, and then we are now in what is a downward sloping channel. The exit out of that downward sloping channel is that level which I mentioned, which is 18,050, which is about 450-500 points away from where we are at this stage. But I mean, I think that is that will come into view over the next couple of days. What we need today, over the next 60 minutes, is this green to stay and the closing to be a decent one. Nigel, hi.
Well, hi, Prashant. You know, after the few days of underperformance, the Nifty said, hey, nothing can stop me. I'm on the way up yet again. So that's why, in fact, we did see a bit of a bounce today. In fact, today's low becomes an important reference zone. That's at around 17,216. That's the day's low. From there, we've seen a bit of a bounce because if we broke that level decisively, then there was a probability we head towards 100 DMA, which in the near term seems that, in fact, maybe at least for now, we have got past that hunch. We could easily see a correction move back towards those levels, but those become the reference points for you. But the fresh breakout comes only once the Nifty moves to around that 17,600 mark, and we see a decisive close above that level. Now, I'm not the one to say maine bola tha, most of the time either on or off the record, but yesterday on this show itself, we said at the start of the show, either the Nifty goes to around 17,000 or around 17,600 by the end of the series. And it appears now that, in fact, we are bracing ourselves for a bit of a move. And the key reason was that the Nifty bank was going towards key crucial support zones. So today and yesterday's low between that 36,600 to around 36,700, that becomes the important level on the downside, because yesterday, today, both the days we saw a bit of a bounce from that level, and now we're holding above the 100 DMA. You like the Nifty Bank to sustain over these levels because that sets us up for a fresh breakout, and maybe in fact, we start moving back towards that 38,000 odd mark. But we're not out of the woods, but good to see support at lower levels and bouncing off there. But the real positive for me today has been from the broader markets, the breadth of the markets, the mid cap, the small cap indices. Well, there are a lot of stocks that are outperforming out there, and that definitely makes things look good. 4 stocks advancing for 1 stock that's declining, and Paytm is the stock in the last few minutes that's taking your breath away. 2,150 went to around 1,270. And that one now, as we speak, up close to around 11% odd. Let's see where it goes. Prashant, back to you.
Absolutely, Nigel. So Paytm is back above the 1,500 rupee mark. Let's quickly tell our viewers what's lined up here. The market staged a comeback higher, and it's been led by metals. So that's essentially the first sector we will talk about here in just a bit from now. I mean, there are triggers. The People's Bank of China, for example, is signaling easing measures to aid economic recovery there. We spoke with Rakesh Arora of Go India Advisors, metals analyst, so some sound bites from there. Telecom stocks are on our radar, Vodafone and Idea. Vodafone Idea has followed Bharti in increasing tariffs. Vodafone is not moving. Bharti is a little bit. More on that. And finally, technicals in focus and a longer-term view on the Nifty with Sushil Kedia, founder of Kedianomics.
All right, how should you position yourself in the final hour of trade? Mitesh Thakkar is with us. Mitesh, we've seen a bit of a bounce from lower levels, but on a closing basis, what are the levels you're looking at on the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank that will suggest that we're in for more?
Hi, Nigel. I was talking about covering short positions close to 17 to 30 to 50 zone. I think we've had that strong rebound. There were a couple of reasons. One, we were hitting very strong support areas. Two, I think, the markets were extremely oversold. So bounce was what I was looking for, but I don't think this is a turn or a change of the trend. I think this setup still remains on the weaker side. This bounce back I'm expecting will face strong supply closer to about 17,650, or in the best case scenario close to about 17,800. I don't see a rally beyond that. So in that sense, I have a negative view which I'll maintain to hold, and we've cut our short positions, so waiting for some kind of this bounce back to play so that we can take fresh shots closer to about 17,650, or in case we go higher, then 17,800 is what I'm looking at. So that's the kind of index we were approaching. Trading with some stock specific biases, but again, not aggressive there because we are playing for a bounce back. So, bounce backs are typically tricky to play into. They're choppy. Plus, I think the trend is on the negative side overall. So I think, not very aggressive on the long side, but I would suggest some kind of a buy on Amara Raja batteries with a stop at 632. Keep your stop losses tight in this market. So 632 is the stop, and 650, 651 is the price target on the upside. And the other one is a sell on Bajaj Finance. Disclaimer, we have some covered put positions over here. So Bajaj Finance, I would want to sell close to about 7,200 with a stop at 7,300 for targets of 6,950.